Hey guys, welcome to today's video. I'm just going to jump straight into the action. So I am drawing a scene from Mexico City, or a building should I say, from Mexico City in this sketch. It is from a reference photo that I took whilst I was traveling in Mexico a few years back. And I have sketched this building a couple of times and it always comes out quite interesting and always very different. So here I am just mapping out the very big basic shapes in pencil, and this is just a normal wooden pencil. I think it's a 2B, and this sketchbook that I am using is by Seawhites of Brighton, so it's their A5 landscape orientation watercolour travel sketchbook. And I quite like this book. It's a really good price and it's definitely comparable with other watercolour sketchbooks of the same price, so like Moleskine and Hahnemuhle. So once I've got this very basic pencil shapes in, I'm moving to pen. And on the fly, I just decided to use this Sailor Fude fountain pen. I love this pen, it's really good fun. And it also helps you to draw looser. It just forces you to, because it's actually just quite hard to be very, very precise with this pen. Or at least that's my experience. I'm sure some of you will be like, no, I can be really precise, but I can't be precise with this pen. But I just really love the variations of marks it can give you. It's got a bent nib, hence the name Fude. And you can see I'm just making these kind of very loose calligraphic, I guess you'd call it, marks. And yeah, if you look close up, you can see what it is. But when you're looking at it, like maybe you guys are looking at it right now, just from slightly afar, it really, it's magic. Like it really makes it look like this very ornate, detailed architecture. But again, you look up close and I promise you, I'm just making squiggles. This was one of the key breakthrough moments for me when I was trying to sketch complicated architecture. And I was like, I just can't see what's going on, whether it's in real life or from a photo. And I realized actually just making an impression of what's there, i.e. using some kind of well-placed squiggle, it just replicates that look like perfectly. And it's that's what sketching's about, really. Partway through this sketch, my pen ran out of ink. I decided to refill it. I did make a bit of a mess of it. I actually got the pen nib stuck in the bottle. So here I'm like, yeah, I think I cut it out because I was like, oh yeah, I made a total mess of that. Otherwise I would have shown you how I refilled it. But I thought, no, I don't look very professional if I show them how much of a mess I made of that. Anyway, so that was platinum carbon ink that you saw there. A lot of you guys do ask me what ink I use in my fountain pens. And I use platinum carbon ink exclusively just because A, it works, so I've never really had to try any other inks, although I'm open to trying other inks, but B, it's just very available. It's available on Amazon, and more importantly here in South Africa is one of the inks I can get, thank goodness. And it doesn't clog up the pen, the fountain pen, which you have to be careful with if you're filling a fountain pen with permanent ink, permanent waterproof ink. You have to be careful because you can't just fill your fountain pen with any old ink, because it could clog it up and ultimately stop it from working altogether. I highly recommend this ink, and as I say, you can get it on Amazon relatively easily. And it will last forever. It's like a bit of I think it's about £15, so I don't know, like $25, something like that, but it will last for a long time. I absolutely am nowhere near using my jar yet, and I sketch a lot with my fountain pen. So the other thing I love about this pen is if you use it with the bent nib parallel against the paper, you can get these really thick black marks, and in this reference photo there are quite black areas of shadow, and I really enjoy being quite graphic with it, so I really like that about the pen. So just a quick interlude here. I have got myself a new filming setup. So I've got this backdrop frame and this clamp, and yeah, I've got my camera face down towards my desk, and it's really exciting because I've been really struggling with getting good, clear footage straight down on my desk, and it always involves trying to clamp my phone into weird positions with random bits. And this is still a bit jerry-rigged, but it's working really well. The camera is way out of my way. I don't jog it with my arm, and I can just get on with actually making videos. So here I'm just testing my blues that I've got in my watercolour set because I can't always remember what exact shades they come out. So I think it's great to have a piece of scrap paper or just another page in your sketchbook if you don't mind doing that, just to test colours out, because you can't always remember what exact shade they are. So here I'm just putting a few splatters down. I just like to do that sometimes. Sometimes it works really nicely, and I'll be honest, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes I get it wrong, and I'll actually show you an example of that later in the video where it just doesn't look good. But I managed to find a good way to cover it up. So, I'll show that to you in a moment. And here I'm just doing my favourite kind of foliage, wet and wet kind of stuff with the Indian yellow and the green in the White Nights watercolour set. Just really love those colours together. And that is a tip that I got from Alicia Aradia and watching her videos and things like that. And now I am also on my scrap paper just trying to find like a good mixture for the stone colour of the buildings. I tend to get this wrong a lot, and you don't necessarily have to use a colour that's actually in the paper, in the photo, but yeah, I just wanted to get something that I was like happy with, something that wasn't too yellowy or too warm, I wanted to get that kind of cold stone kind of colour. So I think I've got it here with a mixture of yellow ochre and French ultramarine, so that's what I'm going with. And again, I'm using my biggest brush I own, which is a size number 10 Escoda brush, and I'm just being super loose, and I'm leaving white bits. That is a really great way to make it look like there's sort of bits of light shining off things. It just gives everything a bit more, and it just makes it a bit more dynamic. So don't sort of laboriously fill in your, it's not a paint by numbers. Don't fill in your sketch. Keep it loose, use a big brush and just kind of dab at it and put other shades of colours in it. Just kind of, if you make a mess, you make a mess. And then you learn from it, and then you try something else in your next sketch. Don't overthink it. The thing to a loose sketching style is just to go for it and just accept that sometimes they don't always work. And there's moments in this sketch where I'm like, oh no, okay, this is too messy. Like I wasn't loving this kind of pink vibe I was putting down to get the tiles or the pattern on the front. But again, later on I try something else. So here I'm getting my smaller brush. I've done most of this sketch with that size number 10 brush, that round brush. Here I'm using my other favourite brush. These two brushes are like everything to me. The size number 10 Escoda brush and this little dagger brush from Rosemary Co. They are just like my two perfect paintbrushes. I could do everything with these two brushes. So yeah, I'm just going in and just putting a few extra shadow details just where I need a kind of finer point. And the point on this dagger brush is like really super useful for that. So you can see I'm going in with a different kind of vibe on the pink and just seeing if I can get it to look a bit better. I'm just going for like a loose kind of look, obviously, so I just want to loosely interpret those patterns. Right, this is the splatter that I put on, and I was like, nope, that is just a mess. That is what that is. So yeah, you can see the greens kind of run into the wet pink, and sometimes you pick up a paintbrush and you just go for it and you're just like, oh no, I should have thought that through a bit more. But that's fine. So as you can see here, I've drawn over the top like an outline of where I think I'm going to put another bush, and I think that just might help things. Also, that bottom right corner is just looking a bit empty, so yeah. And then also I was really impatient. I didn't wait for the paint to dry, but I just wanted to see how this might look putting the white gel pen over the top, and I quite like it. And actually, I think just hinting at things sometimes, you don't have to laboriously draw everything, especially when you're going for this loose style. Just hinting at things, just an impression is enough, and then people's eyes and imaginations fill in the rest, and that's just like I think that's a really important element to kind of get when you're doing this loose sketching kind of style, that you don't have to draw every single thing. You can just hint at things. So now I decided like everything was a bit too, that's Jemima, a bit too much one tone. So I wanted to go in and like put in some really heavy, darker bits just to really make this building pop. And you can see what a difference that makes. Adding in those darker areas, it just makes that building pop forward. So here I'm rescuing things. I'm putting in a new bush, which I think is okay. And then I do have this flat brush because it does nice splatters that are just a bit finer, so you can get slightly more control and it's just not too overwhelming. Arguably I've got too much going on here anyway, but I always like to experiment with splatters. Again, sometimes they work, sometimes they don't so much. So I hope you've enjoyed this video, guys. I would highly recommend getting the Sailor Fude fountain pen. It's quite inexpensive off Amazon, and I'm sure you can buy it in other shops too. Make sure you get the converter which goes inside it. That's the little piston thing that allows you to fill up the pen from the ink bottle. So I'll put all the links to Amazon below, and yeah, I will see you in the next video.